Good evening, East Tennessee. I'm David Aldridge, Chief Meteorologist at Captain Accurate Weather. I have a very interesting weather pattern in place now with the rain. How many of you have been dealing with a lot of rain? If you have, let me know, because we're going to look at the specifics of where the heavier rains are showing up right now on the radar. The Ultimate Doppler radar, as you can see, focused on Knoxville. Heavier rains in yellow and red right from Maryville to Knoxville here at 8:32, which is why I wanted to jump in and just give you an idea. This is just the beginning. This is the first chapter of the moderate to heavy rain that we're going to see going through not only tonight, tomorrow, maybe a pullback. I suspect there will be a pullback Friday, but then it's going to come in like buckets Saturday night. So if you have plans, it's going to be a little more challenging. So focus on the radar. The Ultimate Doppler radar presented by Madlock Tire Service and Auto Repair, East Tennessee's #1 tire shop and auto repair since 1953. If you need a new set of tires, alignments, brakes, oil changes, tire rotations, maybe you need a tire repair, they do so much more. They have 5 convenient locations: Knoxville, Maryville, Lenore City, Athens, and Hardin Valley. Call them today or visit their website at madlocktireservice.com. Let's zoom in. You'll notice we have an aerial flood watch until 7 p.m. tomorrow night. That's the 25th, because last I checked, today's the 24th. And we have maybe no lightning. We maybe had that a little while ago. But you can see some moderate rain now in Blount County. I'm looking at Maryville, Alcoa. Some buckets coming down around Bestview, approaching Blockhouse, Fairfield, as well as Bayview, Arrowhead, South Knoxville. We got some heavier rains. And if you're on the call, let me know. I'd love to see or hear what you're saying. I'm looking at Facebook comments. Steven Snyder says it's been raining where he is for 3 days. I believe he's in South Texas. Darcy says it was pouring here, but it's slacked off a bit in the Roane County area. Thank you for that update, Darcy. But heavy rain is now affecting Mascot. We could go to Fountain City. It's coming down in buckets. This is just the start of it. We're going to look at the accumulation so far as estimated by the Doppler here in a moment, but high school still getting some moderate rain, and then it breaks up a little bit as Darcy indicated, maybe back to the west. Oak Ridge is getting some moderate rain in green and yellow between Oliver Springs, Oak Ridge, Clinton, north of you. North of Clinton, Norris getting some heavier rains in yellow in Briceville, but it does trail off. And this is like the fire hose that I talked about, the effect that this has on the situation. So not everybody's getting it. Look, you look at Cosby, and you might be thinking, or Newport, there's nothing going on over here on the right side, right? There's nothing going on at all. And Greenville's dry, but that's going to change as we head through the night, as this will be the first wave of the rain that comes in. If we do a quick check of the national radar, and I'll take off the telestrator here for a second, you'll see that there's more rain down toward the south. And looking at Birmingham, they're getting reinforcements in Baton Rouge and New Orleans. So if I pull the telestrator back on, where's all this rain going? It's coming up here. So we've got a fire hose headed in the direction from Tuscaloosa to New Orleans, headed toward East Tennessee. So be prepared. Christy Nicholson says, I'm getting some rain in Sevierville. Thank you for that update, Christy. Very helpful. Marilyn Bell says, I think it's following the snow track from Monday. Very possible. Kathy Self is on here. She says East Morristown here with snow that's still here. She's representing Hamlin County for me. And if you're on YouTube, I'm also live on YouTube at this moment. Live on a Wednesday night. I see Matthew 419. He's got his little moniker there. A bunch of rain and fog in Clinton. Thank you, Matthew, for that update. Love that fact that you guys are on both YouTube and Facebook, that we can do both. We can multitask. I figure it's why not, because some like one platform over the other. I get it. That's what it's about. But if you have a comment, let me know. I'd love to see what you have. Matthew mentioned that on YouTube. And back on Facebook, there may be some growing comments. Felicia says it's really coming down in South Knoxville and it's already foggy. That's another element to take into account. Snowpack on the ground creates some fog. You're going to have some foggy issues, poor visibility at times. But as you can see, it's not that bad, maybe west toward Crossville, but it is certainly an issue back on the full screen. We're going to go back to the radar because I'm going to cover some great things that will help you mentally prepare for what's still yet to come. As I say, this will come in stages. We can think as tonight, tomorrow is one event, a big pullback Friday. You might say, well, that's good, because then we can see maybe the water recede. But if we put this in motion over the last, I'd say, hour, let's just do an hour loop here, you can see it's all marching in this direction. And when you look at the lightning strikes, just on this image alone, it's over 900, almost 1,000, a little more than 1,000, 1,100. Just keeps going up, right? But if I zoom in a little bit tighter, those numbers will go down. Because it's going to take into account what's on the screen. But what are all these green areas, and do we have wind advisories? The answer is yes. I'm going to get to that and then go back to the radar. But let me show you what's in effect right now, because the National Weather Service did, in fact, expand the green counties. Remember last night, it was just Monroe and McMinn County in our local area, right? So this flood watch runs till 7 p.m. tomorrow. So that means any area could get some locally heavy rain. So if you're in a flood-prone area, and you know if your area floods, if you're in a low-lying area, if you're near a creek or a stream, some of those creeks and streams may come out of their banks over the next day or even into the evening tomorrow, because this runs till 7. But it could, I say, it could be extended as it may come back on Saturday, maybe in anticipation of more of what's to come. But let me show you the wind advisories. This will go now. This was supposed to expire this evening, but they extended it till 1 o'clock in the morning for the Smokies. So if you're in the Smokies, you drive through the Smokies, their wind gusts could be around 50 miles per hour right through 1 o'clock in the morning. So this is just for the Smokies themselves, keeping an eye on that. Candy says it's pouring in Powell. She's just got drenched. Oh dear. Well, that's chapter 1, Candy. We're going to see another chapter of this come in through the week. As far as those winds I was referring to, you can see where they're peaking in a 30, 36 in the green or just in the higher terrain. And that's why the National Weather Service has, in fact, the wind advisory. But it's not a wind at all in Knoxville. You go outside, it's not windy at all. We've got fog, we got snow melt, we have snow and ice melt, but some areas in the plateau have winds about maybe 5 to 10 in some spots, keeping an eye on that. Fred Winchenbach says, heavy rain in Maryville. Glad to have you on the call. Thank you for the update, because you are a Maryville resident. I know that, and I saw the rain coming down pretty heavily where you are. So just to remind you, I know it sounds like I've heard that before, but sometimes the quick reflex of, well, I can drive through that, because this may not affect you tonight. It might not even affect you tomorrow. Some it may, where you start to see a lot of standing water on the roads. All it takes is 6 inches of moving water to sweep a person off their feet. Maybe your spouse swept you off your feet when you were dating. Well, this is different. This is 6 inches of water that'll sweep you off your feet, literally. 12 inches of water can sweep a car or SUV away. Rushing water, and 18 inches of water. You say, are we getting that much? Yeah, we're going to get 2.5 to 4.5 inches. And then you throw all the snow melt. That's going to add more standing water. So, yeah, you might want to turn around, don't drown. So if you're in this situation, as I'm trying to illustrate here with the red car, you might have that moment where there's not a barrier, but you might be thinking, you know what? I know this area. I grew up here. I know this like the back of my hand. You might be thinking, I know this road. I've driven this road 1,000,000 times. But you may not know that 1,000,001th time might be a sinkhole building, right? Or beginning to fall. And so this is why it's so important not to compromise your safety or the safety of any first responders, because they got to come get you if you get stuck. And that's not very good for them either. So just keep in mind, turn around, don't drown is a very good tip anytime, day or year when there's flooding. And we've got some moderate rain still affecting Knoxville at this point in time. We'll go back to the radar. You can see Maynardville, Union County, Sharps Chapel getting some pretty good rain at this point in yellow. Belmont, Sunset, Rutledge beginning to see rain, but not quite to Bean Station yet. But it's coming. It's not quite to Morristown yet, but it's coming. But it's in Jeff City. It is in Jefferson City, and I would imagine it's also in Newmarket. Yes, it is. So Newmarket, Jefferson City, now in the rainy pattern, but it's not quite to Witt. It's not quite to White Pine, not yet, but it's coming. If you got to know, Billy Bruce says really coming down in Kingston. Great job, David. Thank you, Billy, for being here. You know you can access all this goodie information on the Captain Accurate Weather app. One of the cool goodies on the free app. You mean your app's free? Yeah, it's free. It's always been free. But you can download what's called the 1-hour future radar. So you can project where this rain will be 60 minutes from now. Let's do that. Let's do that. It'd be fun. It's like the time machine from Wayne's World, right? Doodle, doodle. We're going to go forward in the fast forward time. We're going to go future, 1 hour, and we're going to maybe zoom in a little bit tighter. Let me get this back on this screen here. So I'm going to get back to our local area, and we'll take off the thunder because we don't need that. And we'll also take off the activity. Here we go. There's it. So 1 hour from now. Is it 9:41? No, it's not. It's 8:41. I see what you did. We went 1 hour into the future. So the heavier rains by 9:41 should be in White Pine, Morristown. But it's not raining there now. No, it's not. Let's rewind the tape. Let's go back in time to the present because it's 8:41. This is where the heavy rain is now. This is where the model sees it going in the next 60 minutes. So it's going to fill into Cosby. It's going to fill into Newport, Morristown especially, right? Hamlin County, you're going to feel the heavy rains over your head within the next 60 minutes. So this is just a view of the time lapse of where this rain's going. And you notice it tapers off away from Crossville and Sparta. As I say, it's like a fire hose, right? The fireman's hose. You don't get wet if you're on the left side or right side of the fireman, because the stream of water is coming right up from the Gulf, and it's going to focus its area on us over the next day, and certainly into tomorrow afternoon. So we'll keep an eye on this. Go back to the radar, the present radar, because I think that might be more confusing if somebody's just now joining us. What's going on? We're looking at the future radar. Now we're back to the current radar. And you can see from this image that we've got moderate rain now affecting Union County. It's affecting now Sevier County, maybe actually getting a little heavier now west of Sevierville, Kodak, and not quite really raining hard in Gatlinburg. But it is around Wallen, certainly Maryville. There's no question the heavier rains in red are showing up here, and so the Alcoa, Rockford, and anyone who's got an observation in Maryville, you could certainly leave that in the comments section. Billy Bruce says it was coming down in Kingston. Linda Field says, yes, I'm in Strawberry Plains, and it's raining now. Thank you for sharing that with us. My pleasure. If you're on YouTube, I'm going to pop back over here on my screen. I see Michael Hawk. He says the snow from the storm is pretty much all gone. I'm sad about that. I'm going to illustrate that in a moment, Michael. It might make you laugh. Hang with me. He says it's still very much team snow. Good. I'm glad to know, because winter is a far cry from over. As any one of my premium members can tell you, winter will be getting back into play in the month of February. What extent, we explore those options every day on Captain Accurate Premium. You can hit the subscribe button or go to CaptainAccurate.com for details. By the way, Mascot, Seymour, Kodak, that's where the heavier rains are. Notice it cuts off. It's not quite into Laurel yet. If we go back to the radar, not much here, not much here. It's certainly nothing in Newport or Cosby or Bybee yet, but Dandridge is about to get in on the act. And it's already raining in Jefferson City. So that's kind of like the leading edge of where we see rain. It's beginning to fill into Rutledge. But all this heavier rain in yellow will be, as we saw from the future radar, will be focused on Morristown, as that's where it seemed like is wants to go. Let's just do a 30-minute time lapse. It's probably too much on the... Yeah, so for the next 30 minutes, it's beginning to move closer to Morristown and over toward Bulls Gap. It'll be headed to Bulls Gap, Mohawk, White Pine, and Morristown here in just a little bit. So that's where things are. I'm going to get back to the other graphics because while this radar is lighting up, as I mentioned, we have a wind advisory for the Smokies that runs till 1 a.m. And we have a flood advisory, a flood watch, where the conditions may be presenting themselves where if something reaches a critical level, then our friends at the National Weather Service would in fact issue a flash flood warning. And that still may happen before the end of the week. It may not happen tonight. It may not happen tomorrow, but if things get really bad over time, they could reappear on a Saturday afternoon or even into a Saturday night. So I'll show you what that looks like here in a moment. But just to recap, the Ultimate Doppler Radar presented by Madlock Tire Service and Auto Repair, East Tennessee's #1 tire service and auto repair shop since 1953. If you need an oil change, I know everybody needs one eventually. Who does your oil changes? Well, check out Madlock. I think you'll be most impressed. They have an awesome waiting room, but you can also go to madlocktireservice.com. I got a link at the top of this post, and you can book your own reservation, so to speak. You can schedule it at Knoxville, Maryville, Lenore City, Athens, and Hardin Valley. So here's what's going to be very telling, is how much rain could we get between now and 5 p.m. tomorrow? You say, wait a minute, it's only 8:45 in the night. Yes, and we're going to look at accumulation amounts so far in a moment. But I want to show you some of the projections from not one model, but two, and how similar they are in the output. If this is a fire hose, the yellow areas would be who gets the most between now and 5 p.m. tomorrow. So if you're out the door, you're out from work, school, maybe college, maybe you're on the road at 5 p.m., that's how much water is going to have fallen, right? Close to 2 inches Knoxville. Lesser amounts if you're in Greenville or Newport, maybe less than 1 inch, as projected here by the modeling. But you can see by the time we hit Friday, Thursday night into Friday, there may be a little more added, but really not as much as there would be during tonight and tomorrow. Then we go into Saturday, we get reinforcements. There's 5 p.m. It's already 4.5 in Oak Ridge. Now, if this verified, and that's a big if, because the big blue, the big orange areas at Oak Ridge could be easily over Maryville. It could easily be over Tellico Plains. It could shift. So I'm still expecting 2.5 to 4.5 inches of rain with locally higher amounts. Somebody's going to say, I had more than that. And all the snow melt, I wouldn't doubt it. That's why I say turn around, don't drown. These little suggestions make a lot of sense if you're in the car and you have to make a split decision, split second decision for you and your family, especially if you have loved ones in the car. So this was one projection by 5 o'clock Sunday. This event's pretty much gone. It's a couple events, it's a couple of systems, but they're all coming up from the south and west. I want to show you slide number 2, similar output and similar timing. This takes us to 7 a.m. tomorrow, so we may only pick up 0.15 of an inch based on this modeling in Morristown. I suspect you'll have more by then, but this model puts a little bit less on the east side, a little bit more on the west side. Let's take you to 5 p.m. 5 p.m. Thursday. Different model trying to tackle the same problem using a different set of equations. And they think it's over 2 inches in Wartburg by 5 o'clock Thursday, and maybe just an inch in Knoxville. Maybe it's on the lighter side. Maybe it's a blend of the two. But if we take you through Friday, I think there's a pullback. There's not much movement. Let's go into Saturday. Notice how much more it fills it. Whoa, where'd that come? Look at all that color. That takes you to 11 o'clock Saturday night. We're still around 4 in Oak Ridge. Add a little bit more on Sunday and 4.1. So you're in that, the sweet spot may very well be at the Fireman's Hose there. You're looking at 3-4 inches of rain right there in places like Anderson, Knox, Blount, and Roane County. And basically Lenoir City, Athens, Kingston. These are the areas we need to watch for the possibility of additional flooding. Darcy Source says, sounds like Friday is the day to resupply the milk. Yeah, there'll be a pullback. I want to show you what that looks like on another slide. But this should help you at least know what to anticipate, right? 2.5 to 4.5 have been that's a pretty big range. But even from this vantage point, Newport gets 1.8, but Oak Ridge gets, that's a big range. Our temperatures, as I'll show you, have had a huge range over the last 2 days as well. As warm air rises, they hit 70 degrees in the Tri-Cities today. Did you know that? Did you know the Tri-Cities record high is 78? They did not hit a record high today, but they did hit 70, 78 from 1972. I looked that up because they were the warm spot in East Tennessee or Northeast Tennessee. Here's the rain coming up from Gadsden and also Rome, Georgia. More thunderstorms you can see coming up from central Alabama, so that's why it may ebb and flow. Heavier rains change over to sleet, freezing rain, what a mess, in New Hampshire, Vermont, and also upstate New York. So that's what they're dealing with. And all those little red polygons represent flooding, flash floods, in Perry County, Mississippi, and perhaps in some of the parishes in Louisiana. St. James Parish, for example, has flash flooding. So if this is the canary in the coal mine, what's going on down here, we go, well, that's their problem. At least it's not us. Well, that could be our problem if we have some issues going into the next couple of days. So we'll keep an eye on that down the road. Now, this is the fun part. I hope Michael Hawk's watching, because look at this. This is another snow melting day. Hashtag Team Spring. Hashtag Save Frosty. Hey, kids, if Frosty's melting, oh, it's so sad. I've got a tear in my eye. I know that some of you might want to put Frosty in the freezer. Probably no need to do that, because as I said, February will come back and we'll say hi to winter again. So don't feel like this was the last snow you'll see all winter, because it'll come back. And there'll be more slush as the car goes by, looks like what is a Subaru, something goes by. Team Spring, hashtag Save Frosty. So it's slushy, right? So you're going to add 2.5 to 4.5 inches of rain on top of that, and you go, good grief. I thought we were done with all this. Nope, it's just getting started. This is the first chapter of the flooding concern. Our high temperature day did not hit 59 today. We hit 56. But as I mentioned, it was 70 in the Tri-Cities, which we'll show you the moments in a second. But just to give you a perspective, that happened at 3:25, and the morning low was 36. That happened at 3:10 this morning. I love McGee-Tyson Airport because they keep very detailed records. So that's what I'm showing you here. An almanac with when that actually happened. The record low, -6 from 1963. Some of you may remember that year, but it was cold on this very date, and the peak wind gust today was only 12 miles per hour. But here are the high temperatures today. I find this interesting. Kingston's not showing up. We'll have to maybe guesstimate they were about 58, but 65 in Jonesville. It was 68 today in Greenville and 70 in the Tri-Cities. So we had kind of like a carved out valley cooling spell. Oak Ridge was only 51, but it was warmer in Crossville. Crossville was warmer than Knoxville. Jamestown was 60 today. You say, that's crazy. Oneida, 63. So the variability that took place yesterday was almost duplicated by 10 degrees, because yesterday we were, 48? Today, 56. So many of us got into the 50s, 60s. Just depends on where you were. If you were in Newport, you were at 64. Big temperature bust, I guess. But as I said, I was expecting 59 today. We hit 56. Maryville might have been closer to 59, but Tellico Plains certainly in the lower to mid 60s today. Look around the state, And the region, there's the 70, Johnson City, 61 Nashville, 62 Jackson. I don't know why Paducah's not populating, but they were around 60 today. Lexington, Kentucky hit 60, and it was 66 in Greensboro, just to give you an idea of where we were. Now, what may be more important is where are we now? I can show you that. We've got a lot of rain spinning in here. It's working its way toward Morristown, but there'll be some more reinforcements before the night is through, and it'll come up from Tupelo and into parts from southern Mississippi. But our temperatures right now are 48. And I said, wait a minute, I thought you said the low would be 49. Yeah, I'm off by a degree, but we're likely to rise because all you have to do is look at those little red arrows, and they're swimming up from the south. So they're coming up. So that warm air, the warm wind, should enable the 48 to get back to 49, 50, or 50 more when you start the day tomorrow. But it's currently 61 in Nashville, and it's currently 65 in Johnson City, in the Tri-Cities. It's 49 in Oak Ridge, 57 in Oneida, the current temperature, pretty amazing right now. Rockwood, about 48. So there's a pocket of 40s, upper 40s, anywhere from Knox County, Anderson, and Roane, and certainly Loudoun County. But we're at 57 right now in Newport, and it's 63 in Greenville. There, like I said, lots of variability. Even the rainfall amounts will vary. Now, there's poor visibility where we may have some fog that's forming, low clouds, down to a mile, Oak Ridge, Wartburg, down to a mile, Bell County, Middlesboro. So please be extra careful there. Kathy Nichols Coffee says, wow, 70 degrees, but then back to cooler, colder next week. Yes, indeed. Bab Sally says, prayers for all in this path. Flooding is dangerous. Absolutely. It's very dangerous. Billy Bruce sending me some stars. You're very kind. Thank you for that. But I just want to check in again with YouTube. Michael Hawk said, LOL, poor Frosty. You know, I was thinking about, should I put hashtag poor Frosty or hashtag save Frosty? I thought, I'm like of the generation of Ferris Bueller. So save Ferris, save Frosty. You could put him in a little chunk of Frosty in the freezer until we get to February. You could do that. I certainly, Team Snow might be tempted to do that, especially if you had snow cream over the last couple of days or weeks. So a lot going on with Frosty going down the drain, so to speak. But we have visibility issues this evening in some spots, so please be extra careful here if driving. 48 current temperature. We have a 93% relative humidity, no wind, but Storm Prediction Center, interestingly enough, does highlight some severe storms potentially in some areas that might be important to you, like to the south. I'm looking at most of Alabama, a good chunk of Mississippi tomorrow, that's Thursday, could have some isolated severe storms. So if you're in New Orleans, Mobile, or have family, maybe a brother, a cousin, a sister-in-law, an uncle in Baton Rouge, Birmingham, Montgomery, let them know they have the potential for some severe weather, isolated as it may be. It includes Huntsville. It includes Chattanooga and a good part of Hamilton County. So those are the areas where the stronger storms may exist tomorrow. We have just some run-of-the-mill general thunderstorms in light green, shaded across much of the entire area. By Friday, the pullback is evident. There's no thunder threat here on Friday. It moves south toward Atlanta, Dallas, and even Asheville. But there's no concern for severe weather or even thunderstorms, as I think most of the rain will be pulling away in the morning. Now, as far as Friday, let's take a look at this. We're going to get to tonight. You can see the fire hose, right? Lots of rain, more coming up from Huntsville by 11 o'clock tonight. Then another wave when you wake up tomorrow morning, coming in from Huntsville, Nashville, spinning maybe a little bit further to the north, as this would suggest. So there will be ebb and flow. There will be some stoppage times where it's not raining the whole time. But there will be some fill-in time as well, so just be prepared. The skies are a little unsettled tomorrow. By the time we hit Friday, look where the front is. It's back toward the Biltmore. It's back toward Asheville. So once it pulls away, most of the rain moves toward Atlanta. It moves toward Charlotte. That's why I say if we get any rain Friday, it should be confined to the morning hours. But lo and behold, it's really, I'd say, by 9, 10 o'clock. Mark your calendar, 9 or 10 a.m. on Saturday is when I think this is going to race in. So it'll be here before lunchtime, and it's going to turn heavy, and it's going to turn ugly because there will likely be bigger puddles on Saturday and Saturday night versus what we have tonight and tomorrow. So it's just going to be a cumulative effect. So for tonight, 49, we're at 48 now. We will rise. That I expect. Big puddles are potentially going to develop just from the melting and snow and ice underfoot. Now, visibility may not be that great. This is more indicative of some fog, maybe even some poor or low clouds from the rain, the low cloud ceiling, as it were. But that would affect us tomorrow morning. We'll be keeping an eye on that as well. and that would take us through tomorrow and even into the afternoon. It's not going to be great, but lots of clouds tomorrow. It's a cloudy day. Heavy rain at times on Thursday, not the whole time, but with some thunderstorms thrown in for good measure. How about temperatures tomorrow? Again, huge variability. 69 from Greenville to Newport to Sevierville, and low 70s for Tellico Plains. Let's hear it for Madisonville and Tellico Plains. Let's hear it from Monroe County. They sure know how to represent the low 70s tomorrow. It's going to be nice down there. It's not bad in Wartburg, 61, but that's 11 degrees cooler. If you're all about the warmth, Team Spring, you'll have to go where the warmth is, and it will be further south in the Southern Valley. But I expect 64 for Oneida. Maybe some hazy sun. You can see some of the icons, but I think generally Knox County, pretty gray for most of the day tomorrow. We had a little sunshine, as many of you know, earlier this morning. So here's my Captain Accurate Weather Authority forecast for tomorrow, 65. Got an 80% chance of rain tonight, an 80% chance of rain tomorrow, not the whole time, but then the AM showers disappear. Stays warm at 64 Friday, 60 on Saturday, and then I had to put a down arrow because we'll likely be in the mid-50s come Saturday night. Once we hit the stroke of midnight and Sunday, we'll be cooling back into the 40s, and then that's when the mountain snowflakes will suddenly appear. I don't expect it to be an issue in the valley. This is the horseshoe effect where typically the higher terrain gets the snowflakes, and that's why I think both Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, Monday morning, even Monday evening, there could still be some lingering snowflakes in the Klingman domes and the Newfound Gaps of the world. They'll have some mountain flakes there, but it's still cold, back down into the 30s. Overnight lows about 30 degrees on, say, Tuesday morning. So, and then it's a little milder. But I do believe over time, as my premium members know, it's in that first full week of February, things are just getting the pieces of the puzzle put together. Because once I think we get to around the 8th of February, it's game on. And then everyone's going to say, oh, I thought we were done with this. No, we're not done with it. Winter, in my view, is just getting started. Just getting started. And there's reason for that. And I explain all that if you want to join us on Captain Accurate Premium. Very easy. It's just $4.99 a month. It is the best bargain, in my view, in East Tennessee. But what is free is my app. I talked about this a moment ago with Pete Michaels Traffic. You get all the National Weather Service alerts, 3 exclusive alerts that come in very handy when tornadoes might be present, like we had in August. Remember the EF3 that hit Lovell Road? We didn't have an EF3. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. And the twisting storm approaching alert went off. Weather Service did not have a tornado warning. So I heard that. People told me that. There was no tornado warning. Did you know that? I said, I do know that, but my app did. The twisting storm approaching alert went off, as some of my premium members indicated, because they're in that area near Lovell Road. But it's free, and it may be very helpful for you in this flooding concern, because if you're under a flash flood warning, you don't want to have to read about it on social media. You want to get it in real time. And that's what this app can do for you. It can give you traffic reports in real time. It's virtually real time. It's the most recent information that Pete Michaels offers is on the app. And you get lightning alerts thrown in for good measure. But if you're interested in snow, I know there's some Team Snow fans out there going, this is a bummer. I had to say goodbye to Frosty the Snowman. But he'll be back. He'll be back. But you might want to be the first to know when that's going to be. And how much? What about my town? What about my town? What about my town? I don't care about that person. I just want about my town. And there is that desire, right? We have that insatiable appetite about how's it going to affect me and my drive to work. So that's why I say if you want to join us, go to CaptainAccurate.com or click the subscribe button on Facebook at the top of this Facebook page. But my premium members get so much extra information. It's like 2 streams of information. You're also privy to my 15-minute winter weather outlook, which I'm very proud of because I put all this before Halloween together. And I know that I had more snow totals than anybody else in town. And if you want to know why I thought that, how I thought that, it's on the premium side. So you can check it out because everything I put out, laid out there, is still applicable. It still applies going into February and March. So you want to check it out, just go to CaptainAccurate.com. Very thankful for you. I want to go back, as I had indicated, we would look at, specifically, I want to look at the radar and talk about the rainfall accumulation. So let's do that. Let's pop back on here, and we'll go back to our home view and take a look at where how much rain has fallen. Now this, again, is Doppler estimated. So if we look at the accumulation over the last, we'll do the last 6 hours, because I think that's probably more indicative. Notice where the heavier rains have been. They've been in the darker, lighter green, and this would indicate, let's see, around the Follett, ½ inch, perhaps. Maybe areas just north of Harriman, 0.64, maybe south of Oak Ridge, maybe a ½ inch, Knoxville, maybe just less than 0.2. This is, again, all Doppler estimated. Crossville has perhaps about a ½ inch, and Spring City might be a little more, a little bit less, 0.57. Sevierville, trace, Jefferson City, maybe a trace so far, but it'll fill in. And again, if you're keeping track, these areas on the west side will be what gets most of the rain, right? This area in here, where we're still only about 3-4 inches, this is where the heavier rains, the models still put it between now and this weekend. So these are the areas we'll keep a watchful eye on. And if we go back to the radar, a live look, as live it can be, it has now moved towards Sevierville. It's certainly over Kodak. The heavier rains right now are between Mascot, Boyd's Creek, Carter, and Dumplin, and maybe say DuPont. So you've still got some Seymour really getting some heavy rain right now here in Seymour. So those are the areas that are getting the heavier rains right in here, Boyd's Creek, and here's Sevierville. So Sevierville also picking up on some of that rain. Michael Hawk says Frosty the Snowman looks more like Frosty the Clump in my yard. I agree. It's a sad thing, but it has to happen eventually. Lana Johnson says it's raining in Kodak. She's got rain in Kodak. And Darcy says, join the premium service and know what's coming. Sadly, we're all out of the weather days at school. Yeah, I'm really concerned about that too, Darcy. I don't know when the kids are going to go back. Are they going to continue on if they burn all their days, if we have more snow events? I mean, imagine if we got the type of snow. I'm not saying we will, but what if we had? What if we had another Martin Luther King Jr. Day snow style storm in February? Maybe it's Valentine's Day. Maybe it's before, maybe it's after. Anything and everything is on the table this winter. This is looking like a classic winter textbook, a classic textbook on snow. It's going to be like a clinic as before we get to the end of the month of February. Some of you are going to be waving a white flag before February, but I can only imagine how you'll feel by the time we get to President's Day and beyond. Kathy says, if you're not a premium member, you need to be. Well worth it. Thank you, Kathy, for the endorsement. And Juanita Brown says, I'll take the rain. Thanks, Captain. I appreciate that. Appreciate the interest, and also, again, appreciate the feedback. Any reports that you guys have are greatly appreciated. But just to recap, Knoxville getting some light to moderate rain now, but it looks like it's dropping off a little bit in Jamestown, Crossville. We also can take a look at the radar from Nashville. That's where this is sweeping from. So it is pretty much confined. Like I said, if we go back to the national radar, and if you're just joining me, we looked at this, where this is all coming from. It's coming from the Gulf of Mexico. You're getting some more reinforcements, it would appear, in Rome, Georgia, Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, and if we put a 30-minute loop on this, you can see where it's all headed, right? So I'm looking at the next wave could be right in here. This over here is heading up toward Huntsville, and you're going to see this fill in. So it might not rain all night long, but if you're a light sleeper, there will be times where you probably hear it coming down from your window pane. So we'll keep an eye on that for sure. Anyway, thank you for your time this evening. I went on a little bit late. It's 9:04. Didn't expect to be on this long, but just figured we're using the radar. Might as well use it. Just a reminder, I'll be back on tomorrow morning. If you have a rainfall report, maybe some roads that you might say, hey, these are bad, or I was out on them this morning, I just want to pass it along. I'd love to hear those reports first thing tomorrow morning. Well, my name is David Aldrich. Some people call me Captain Accurate. It's not easy being accurate, so weather doesn't surprise you. We'll see you here next time. Take care.